Is President Cyril Ramaphosa failing South Africans? With his election, many hoped things would change for the better, heralding the so-called new dawn. Ramaphosa has been under pressure following the CR17 email leaks and revelations of the Busasa donation. The future of state-owned enterprises like Eskom, SAA and Denel is not certain, while the economy is in decline. My guest tonight is a former trade unionist, Gauteng Premier and COPE leader Mbhazima Shilowa. Good evening, sir. Thank you very much for your time. Read with interest the piece that you wrote. Do you think the president is fiddling while the country is burning?
Well, I think that it's true that he's only been 3 months in office and that therefore he deserves a lot more space to be able to move forward. But I think in the situation in which we are, I would argue that time is of essence. And while I'm not one of those who think his obituary is now ready to be written, I really feel that it's important that the president realizes that the biggest task he faces is not just to ensure that our institutions such as SARS, NPA and others work. Those are very important. But that's not an area in which he's going to get involved. The NPA, once he's got a right person in there, they'll know what to be able to do. Same at SARS and other areas. But economic policy, fiscal policy, social policy and other issues resides in his own area. And it's an area in which I think to date, it does not seem that there's urgency in that direction. And if we don't, then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Do you think urgency is the issue, or, as some people have argued, perhaps there's not much that he can actually do? He's made a lot of promises. He has said all the right things. He has mobilized people that a lot of South Africans feel, can actually help them. But perhaps where they are stuck is in actually coming up, not following up on the promises, doing what they thought could be done, only to find out they actually can't move an inch, perhaps.
I think there are two issues for me that are important. Firstly, I use an example of Wim Kok, who used to be the president or the chairman of the Trade Union Federation in Holland, FNV, ECOSATU equivalent, who rose as a politician and became the prime minister of the Netherlands. What he did was to go back to the trade unions, go to business and say to them, guys, we're in trouble. And if we're in trouble, everything must be on the table, but we must emerge out of here with a social compact in which issues of jobs, of investment, of social wage, of wages of executives and everything else are going to be dealt with. And I think the president has got within him the tools to be able to do that. First, he was in the trade union movement. He was a business person. He was chairing the Millennium Council with Zwelinzima Vavi. But he also has Tito Mboweni, who is also part of the architecture of the Labor Relations Act that has issues of what can be done to negotiate. Then you've got Gwede Mantashe, you've got Ibrahim Patel, you've got Thulas Nxesi, all of whom were there in COSATU. Then you've got Sipho Pichana, who was the DG of Labor, running a business. I think if those people can come together, committed to find a solution, it is possible that we can find one. And the way to find one is to have no holy cows. And when I say holy cows, I don't mean those who say, well, sell state assets. I don't believe in those. But I think that it is possible, if they were to come together to say, we will increase productivity, there will be gain sharing, we will invest in the following areas, we'll reskill workers, we'll ensure we prevent job losses, and then get the economy into the right direction. It is possible. But what holds the president, which is my second point, is that he's sidetracked by the happenings inside the ANC. And don't get me wrong, it's important, he's the leader of the ANC, he He has to work with the ANC. But I think there's a lot of goodwill among South Africans who voted for the ANC, most of whom voted because he was the candidate, who feel that he's spending a lot of time worrying about palace politics instead of worrying about what should be happening to the country.
I don't know if you saw, what happened on the day that there was supposed to be a report back at NETLEC of progress made in implementing the resolutions and commitments of last year's job summit. Now, the president went in there, gave a speech, but didn't get into the reasons why things were where they were, which was nowhere, really. And it was left to the Minister of Labour, who is among the people that you mentioned, Thulas Nxesi, to give a coherent explanation about what actually happened, why there was effectively no feedback. And his office then starts saying, no, this is a shared responsibility, an interministerial committee is supposed to be responsible for that. And then right at the end, he then says, part of the problem was that in the intervening months, where work was supposed to be done, we were busy with an election, which then says to you, or suggests to me, that the ANC, had no commitment to actually do the right things. And after that report back, we are still no clearer about why it is that the president is not doing what people like you are saying are the most obvious things to do.
A cynic would say that they can't do it, they don't know what needs to be done, that if you look at all the political parties during the elections, the economy was not at the center. I think in a country with this... But
for a governing party that has been in power for 25 years, you would have thought that, the country can't be on pilot mode, during an election, because, we're coming out of a recession, technical, and some people, may argue, but it was a recession nevertheless. There was a stimulus package that was put on the table. It should have been someone's responsibility to ensure that work continues while the senior politicians are continue to campaign.
There's a difference between stating the obvious, we need to create jobs, we need to do the following. It's another to knuckle down, and I think they have not been able to do so. I have not heard Ibrahim Patel, as the new Minister of Economic, saying more broadly, this is where we are today, this is where we want to do. It's easy to talk about NDP, 2020, 20 this. That, for me, is not what the plan is. And the reason why they can't report is not because of the ministers. It's because both business and labor also pay lip service to the commitments that have been made there.
But is it not their responsibility to then call them out?
That's why I'm arguing that the president, instead of saying, well, we'll see what the interministerial team is going to do, he needs to say, guys, we're going to have a 5, 10-day, whatever period, the same time that he put into negotiating the Constitution with Rolf Meyer, he needs to put the same amount of money, time, every day to try and work with those people and say to Sipho Pichana, to Zwelinzima Mavavi, to Losi, we are in trouble. If we can't move the economy, we may be downgraded. Then you have the problems of the IMF and the World Bank, even though I think it may be a bit far at the moment, but it's not impossible. And when that happens, when these guys move in, they play no games. They set up conditions, structural adjustments, and then we'll be in more trouble. So that's why I'm saying this, and I'm sure there are many other people who say this, to say to the president, look, you have the responsibility. It doesn't really matter whether people had other people as choices. He is the president of the country. The ANC has been elected. He must knuckle down and forget about worrying about what happens inside the ANC, important as that may be.
Cyril Ramaphosa must lead.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. former COSATU leader Mbhazima Shilowa.